Have you filled one out yet? Why
Yep.
am I asking that? How many have you filled out so far?
Just one.
Okay.
I'm typically a one actual broad. I'm typically a one actual bracket guy. Like I'll do the fun ones, but what's
My
your
coin
number?
toss bracket sucked. As in, like, Houston won.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
like,
that's
come
no
on.
fun at all.
Yeah, it got to the end, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Purdue made the Final Four too.
That's not very realistic.
No, that's when you know it's a coin flip bracket. When Purdue's in your Final Four. I feel like everybody's memeing Purdue so much right now, though. We're all going to eat it if they actually make even just the Final Four.
Yep. Yeah, Purdue's never really done anything to anyone, and yet we're all here.
No,
Just awaiting
honestly,
their-
the Big Ten refs have done more to people, but unfortunately for Purdue, it's been on their behalf. So it's kind of Zach Edey and Purdue is the reason that the defensive paint call should transition to the college basketball too. Zach Edey just chills in that paint the whole time as a defender, which it is funny to see all the NBA guys like, why are they not calling it? And I'm like, because it's not a foul in college.
Yep.
It probably should be. So I'm not really clowning you, but it should probably be a foul because that's absurd. But anyway, I know we're not doing show notes. Did you get your conference champion right?
Yep.
Who'd you pick again? I
I
can't
had
remember.
Colgate winning the Patriot.
Oh, cool. And I had Vermont. So we both got one.
Yep.
Who'd Josh pick again? He already
picked
got his. He
Drake.
picked Drake. That's
Yeah.
it. Yep. All right.
So somehow we all got
Do-
it right. By the way, hello,
Do,
YouTube.
yeah. Did we pick anybody else? Anything else last week? I forget.
Baseball, which happens Wednesday, Thursday.
Oh, still hasn't happened yet.
Yep.
All right. Cool.
So we'll have that. So I think for picks this week, I think we'll literally just pick we'll make our final four picks, our picks. So potentially
Yeah.
a lot of points up for grabs, but how often do you actually get more than one final four pick correct, you know?
Forget if it was last year or the year before. I literally had 3 of the 4 left in the Elite 8, and I got 1 in. You know, It's like, dang it. Sorry, jeez. I can't. UConn makes the most sense, but just because of the way I am, I can't pick UConn. So I'm having a really hard time. Because I would have picked Houston and had no problem picking Houston before that game on Saturday. Why couldn't they just lost by like 8? Then I would have been fine. Oof. I don't know. I do not know.
Yep. Did Josh text at all?
Yeah, he said he would be late. He said a little late, so I don't know exactly how long that means, but honestly, most of the stuff I was off on bracketology, it was kind of nice that everybody afterwards was like, well, that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, everybody else kind of is agreeing with what I had down. So, like, we got halfway through the bracket and I'm like, oh my gosh, am I going to nail the heck out of this thing? And it took until like the bottom of, I think it was what was it? The South. Yeah, bottom of the. I think it was. I can't remember. When we got to the South region though, and like Boise State and Colorado were like the play-in game, I'm like, oh crap. Like seed wise, I'm like, oh, I messed up. But then also like Colorado and Boise State, I had as 9s, and they just have a 10 seed as play-in games. But still, I was like, I don't think so. So they hate the Mountain West. I mean, I'm not sharing anything nobody else has already said 20 times, but they hate them.
And
that was crazy.
To a certain extent, like, yeah, they hate them, but they've been burned by the Mountain West so much that
But that's not supposed to matter, is my
I know,
point.
I know. I'm just saying.
And they put San Diego State as a 5.
Well, because San Diego
And you're
State's
saying
done
like
something.
it's supposed to just be this year, right? San Diego State didn't do anything this year that the other Mountain West teams didn't.
Yeah, correct.
In fact, there's like several that did more in the non-conference in San Diego State. So I'm like, if you're telling me last year didn't matter, like, I don't believe you when it comes to the Mountain West, because San Diego State's your highest seeded team, and actually out of the 6 of them, they should probably be like 3rd or 4th. Given if everybody was just seated a little higher, I don't think anybody would have cared. I was reading about the BYU Duquesne thing, and that was really interesting, actually. They had BYU as the highest 5 seed, actually, but then they didn't want them having to play on Sunday, so they made them a 6 and gave them... Because everybody's like, how's Duquesne an 11? And I'm like, I agree with you. There's no way Duquesne's an 11. And basically, they gave them a team that wasn't an 11 seed,
right?
Who should have been like a 12, borderline 13. It was weird. That actually, once that was explained, I'm like, you know what? Okay, I can kind of get over that then. Like, that actually kind of makes sense.
Yeah. There's
those weird things that you're not going to think about. But, like, I had BYU all the way up at 4. So when they had them at 6, I was like, excuse me?
Yeah.
They're my lowest 4, but I have them as a 4.
Hello, Josh.
Hello. Oh, I'm getting doubling. Give me a second. There we go, all fixed. I got a little distracted this weekend. Other news popped in. So I'm picking off 5s this year, which is different from my normal year, which I'm picking usually half 5s.
Yeah.
We are full 5 nets.
You'll probably be better for it, Josh.
I'm going based off desire and my own pre-existing biases, which
always good.
Yeah,
it's a nice mix.
I think so.
All right. Well, Josh, if you're still are you still filling your bracket out?
Currently filling it.
Okay.
But I'm pretty much done.
Yeah, Johnny and I can start with ours.
Yeah. Aaron, what's your game plan? I know we don't have notes, but
yeah, I mean I posted some, like, just a document, just so at least when we
you did?
I did, because I realized, like, I actually do need to keep track of what our final 4 picks are for, like, picks of the week.
That too.
But I didn't really put it. That's literally it. I just have the scoreboard and that. So I don't know. I was thinking, like, not pick by pick, but like kind of highlighting if you have anything notable as far as an upset here, or
oh sure,
just kind of walking through the bracket. I don't know, like a couple, like, pretty quick, but like maybe, I don't know, 2-minute overview of the bracket, of your bracket, something like that.
Sure.
So, but we can also start, like, we'll start with kind of the bracket itself and how it all panned out and bracketology and all that stuff. So
sure.
All right, sweet. I will get us started. Welcome to the show. And what a show we have for you, because it is here. The bracket is in front of us. It's filled out. It's entirely wrong, but I don't know how wrong it is yet. So I am believing that my bracket this year is just excellent. Excellent. Full of confidence. Johnny, what's up, man? How's your week?
I have no confidence. My week was
Nice.
basketball and soccer, might I add. We had the double quad view, if you will, going on Saturday.
The
A lot
Octaview.
going on. Yes, the Octaview. Thank you. Just trying to keep up with my Columbus Crew, of course, and other MLS matches, while also simultaneously keeping up with bracketology and all the bid stealing going on.
Oh my gosh.
A wild I mean, that was one of the most fun championship weeks I can remember in a long time. And I say that as a Buckeye fan whose team lost. So it was crazy. Loved it. I hope everybody else enjoyed it as much as I did.
Yeah, if you weren't watching conference tournaments, you probably should have been, because we had 10 seeds winning in the ACC. We have a team that's playing in the first four that won their tournament as a 6 seed and beat the 3, then the 2, then the 1. I mean, it was amazing. It was everything you really want in this weekend that we're approaching happened the last 2 weeks. So anything that happens this week is just a cherry on top. And I'm here to tell you, with all the parity that we have in college basketball, it's going to be nuts. I'm with you. That's pretty much describes my week as well. Josh, what's up with you, man? How are you doing?
Hey, I'm picking my bracket right now. You know why? And it's going to be what I'm following later. But the Steelers did some things that made me excited, and I really haven't thought about much since those decisions.
Oh my!
So I'm Steelers Nation. Let's weld.
Yep.
Let's smelt. So I am currently picking. I have great hopes for my picks. Full confidence.
Yeah.
And it's weird. I have Justin Fields winning a few of these, and I don't know where that came from.
Oh man,
More on when I'm following.
yeah.
But I'm doing great. I'm a little high. I had barbecue this week. I spent too much money on a 1.5 pounds chunk of beef rib at a barbecue place that I waited an hour and a half to get into. Man, Texas. Don't stop coming to Dallas specifically because there's already too many. There's like too many, but go to other parts of Texas.
Yeah.
Just come here, get some barbecue. It's so good. Don't come to Dallas though, please. It's too full.
Yeah. And the flights are too expensive. I want to go see Josh, and you guys are making it very difficult.
Listen, whenever you want to come down, well, I'm trying to get some tickets. I'll get you into this Mike Tyson, Logan Paul fights. Like,
oh yeah,
I'm sorry, not Logan Paul, the other one,
yeah.
Jake Paul.
What's the difference? They're both terrible.
They're both from Ohio, and that's kind of
no, they're
sad.
not.
No.
We do
not claim
this is actually
them.
a little known rule about Ohio. We do get to kick out each of us, each citizen of Ohio.
Well, there's too many people. Everybody's from Ohio, so eventually we get to exile some.
You have to exile someone.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be interesting. My wife actually asked me, because she was curious, like, how much is the pay-per-view going to be for that? Mostly because I think deep down,
you know what it's going to be?
I am putting words in her mouth, but I think deep down she wants to see Jake Paul just get lit up.
You know what?
But that's the thing. People will pay for that. But
hey,
he is a very hateable person.
Yeah. Josh, tell me.
You guys currently have the pay-per-view for it because it's going to be streamed on Netflix.
Oh, for real?
I don't have Netflix actually anymore.
No, go over to Aaron's house.
Oh, okay.
And use his Netflix account.
That's the one I cut. Wait, Josh, are you sure they're not going to charge extra for the fight though? Like just to watch
that?
I don't.
I've not seen. In all the news
I feel like
I've
they will.
Yeah,
in all those articles I've seen, they've not charged that. They're not. Yeah, I've not seen it yet.
Okay.
Well, they've not even determined whether or not this is going to be. I mean, obviously, it's not going to be sanctioned because Jake Paul has not fought and officially like.
Right.
He's not over 60.
He will be 58.
Oh my gosh.
There's debates on whether or not he will wear headgear, whether or not he's going to be made to wear headgear, because first off, we're going to talk about basketball in a second. I'm sorry, guys. Here's the thing. What is Jake Paul's play here? Either he beats up a 58-year-old man,
right,
and he has to pull guys who are decade probably from their prime, in an exhibition.
Money.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think he cares.
No, but even money. The two, what if he gets beat up?
Oh, that'd be amazing.
By Tyson. And now you have what I consider either a bad PR move where no one's going to really, I mean,
Nobody takes him serious
or
now.
beat up
Come
by an
on.
old man. Listen, I don't think it's going to get any better.
Nobody who knows anything about boxing actually takes
No one has
either
ever
of them
taken him seriously. No.
Exactly.
But
And I know nothing
I
about
still
boxing,
don't
and I
see-
don't take him seriously.
other than
so,
money,
you know.
I don't see what the play is here. Oh,
Oh,
well.
money. The
That is
answer is
play.
money.
Yes, that is
Yeah.
the answer. Yeah.
Why'd you build a second Krusty Krab right
My
next
next
to the
Clifford.
original?
I
Money.
like money.
Money. Yeah, that's why the NCAA tournament is trying to expand, or why the NCAA.
No,
it's
Greg
stupid.
Sankey.
Yeah.
Screw you, Greg
to jail.
Sankey.
All right, I'll get us back on the rails here. Yes,
The
we're about to talk
worst.
basketball for like 45 minutes. We promised you that. It's coming. Two things first. One, baseball season happens starting on Wednesday, and the Fifth and Goal MLB Preview Magazine is available now on our website. It's free. It's got previews for all 30 teams. It's got highlights of different players that we think are going to be really good this year. It's got a lot of information about prospects. So if you are a baseball fan, either a kind of new-ish baseball fan trying to figure out the sport, I think this is a great resource. Or if you're like me and you're a nerd about baseball, I think it's also a great resource because we dive into some stats and we do a bunch of different stuff. So it's available on our website. I'm really proud of how this thing turned out. And thank you to the writing team at Fifth and Goal that helped make that possible. So that's one thing. Go check that out, fifthandgoalsports.com/MLB. The second thing is I just have a public service announcement to our male audience, which I recognize is a significant portion of our audience. Here's why. If you're like me, and if you're like Johnny especially, and you watched upwards of hundreds of hours of college basketball, and you are
Amen.
helping your mom, your sister, your significant other with their bracket, and they're filling out their bracket, and they might have a unique reason for why they're putting teams where they do. Maybe your mom is picking Duke to go all the way because back in 2010, she had the winning bracket, and it's because she picked Duke all the way. Maybe it's because she's picking Arizona because that's where she would rather live. Here's what you don't do. You don't say, oh, well, that's a dumb reason to pick a team. No. You do. No. You do the
No
exact
such thing.
opposite. You see what they do. Oh, I like this color blue. I'm advancing this team. You take a look at your bracket and you rethink what you're doing. That is the
Absolutely.
correct method to do this. Do not make fun of other people who have not watched basketball and are filling out their bracket. Encourage them to fill out a bracket because it's a wonderful
Yes.
process. And do not make fun of the picks, even if they have a 10 seed in the Final Four. What you should instead do is take a hard look at your bracket and say, ooh,
Figure out where there's wiggle room.
Yep. So that's my
Yep.
public service announcement to the
very
male
good.
audience.
Very good public service announcement.
Yep.
No mansplaining is needed this
No.
week, fellas.
No.
You will only
We've
find
told
pain
you.
and
Yes.
suffering in doing so.
Yes.
They're going to destroy you in those groups.
Yep.
So
May your chalk
humility.
be
Humility is
shot
very
to powder
important in
because-
filling out these brackets.
Mhm.
We will not, no one is going to ultimately do well. It will be 4:00
Correct.
on Thursday, and all of us will just be lighting our brackets ablaze. So there is no wrong reason. Flipping a coin, the shade of blue,
Yes.
whether their coach is attractive or not.
Yep.
Favorite vacation place.
Mascot battle.
No wrong answer. Name of their dog as a child.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yep.
yeah,
my
no,
childhood dog, Marquette. Yeah.
yeah. You- maybe it was a Catholic household, Josh.
Yeah.
Like
I'm not
a
judging.
Jesuit Catholic household. Who
It's
knows?
that's a strong name.
You don't know. So yes, very good, Aaron. I appreciate that public service
Yeah.
announcement.
You're welcome. So we're about to dive into our picks now that I've given you that that disclaimer. The other disclaimer is when we give you our picks, I highly encourage you to soak in all of our wisdom, all of the knowledge, and do the complete opposite. And you will win.
Absolutely.
Congratulations. Before we dive into our picks, Johnny, what did you talked about bracketology. If you follow us
Yeah.
on Twitter, Johnny was posting his bubble teams, which I think you got remarkably close at the end of the day, even though this was kind
Close.
of a hectic last few days. What do you think of the bracket as a whole?
Yeah. Well, we'll start at the bubble because that's always, everybody's, the bubble. That's the main focus, right? I felt like the 4-1 seeds at the end of the day were fairly obvious. I know Iowa State made a late run. One thing about the committee you have to keep in mind, and this actually is a blanket statement, they really don't care about what you do in the conference tournament. Unless that's literally the hair that gets you across the finish line first ahead of another bubble team, they really do not care. They basically said, New Mexico, if you had not won the Mountain West Conference tournament, if you had lost in the final, you would not have been in. They forced the committee's hand in that. But when it comes to the bubble, we had 5 bid stealers. 5, because you have to include New Mexico. So last year we had no bid stealers. So some of it's law of averages, right? Like to have no bid stealers in a year is also actually absurd. And I would argue a lot less fun. So the teams that I got 2 wrong. So, and these are, I would actually say, probably the teams that have been the hottest topic as far as who got left out, minus Indiana State as well would be lumped in here. The Big East only got 3 teams in, and they're 1, 2, and 3 seeds.
Yeah.
In UConn, Marquette, and Creighton. And lots of people will have all 3 of them in their Final Fours, especially if Kolich is healthy for Marquette. St. John's and Seton Hall both were left out. And St. John's wasn't even in the first 4 out. I think that was surprising for a lot of people. For my bracket's sake, the 2 teams I had out that were in were Virginia, which I thought that was actually fairly common. Most people did not expect Virginia to be in.
Virginia did not expect Virginia to be in.
I was just about to say that. If you saw the video, the Virginia team didn't expect to be in. They were celebrating, like, that was clearly a stunned celebration. Like, I can't believe we got in. And then I also had Michigan State out. Now, that might seem a little insane because they're 9 seed. So you're like, that's not a bubble team, Johnny. And at first, I kind of was like, oh my gosh, okay, they're a 9. Did I really screw that up? And the reality is, I went back and looked. There is no way on earth that Michigan State's a 9 seed. So I do not know what the committee was looking at. Their analytic, like their data points are pretty good, and they don't have bad loss. Like, here's the thing about the committee. The committee cared way more about non-conference strength of schedule more than anything. They didn't even care if you won. They just wanted you to schedule those difficult teams. Seton Hall and St. John's did not. Michigan State and Virginia did. And that's kind of case closed. Now, what's crazy is Indiana State at 29 in the net ranking is easily the highest snub ever.
Yep.
And in fairness to the committee, if there's not 5 bid stealers, they clearly were in, as well as Seton Hall. So, 2 off's not too bad. I was still pretty happy with that. Yep. Most of the seed lines were pretty dang close, especially the mid-majors were almost exact. There were a few other surprises. Some of them were explained. Some of them weren't. Some of the seed lines I felt were a little off. If you've listened to anything since the bracket came out, the Mountain West kind of feels a little screwed. I don't disagree just with their placements and seed lines. All I'll say is Mountain West, like, here's your chance to prove them wrong. I don't think Colorado State and Boise State deserve to have to play in Dayton. But we've had plenty of examples of those teams going at least to the Sweet 16. So one of the ways, unfortunately, this is an unfortunate truth. This is supposed to be what happened this year. The committee clearly has a longer term memory than that. And is thinking about what the Mountain West outside of San Diego State's last run last year. They remember all of those first round exits from the Mountain West. So they have a really bad recent history with that. And hopefully this year they can turn it around. Anything initially stick out to you, Aaron?
I think what you said, the Mountain West and the Big East, I think that's getting the most attention just as a conference. Because if you look at the NIT, for what it's worth, there's 2 1 seeds in the NIT that are Big East teams. Which is basically a long way of saying that they were right there. You're talking about Seton Hall, St. John's. Because I brought up the NIT, which I promise I will never do again today, maybe. The NIT did something very dumb, and I don't know if we talked about it on the show. If we did, I have a bad memory. Usually, when we're talking about bid stealers, usually the NIT, it's kind of, if you're not familiar with it, it's kind of the backup tournament for teams that don't get into the NCAA tournament. Historically, conference champions have had an automatic bid to the NIT if they do not make the NCAA. For example, the number 1 seed in the Big South, High Point, they lost in the semifinals, I believe, of their conference championship. And it's not a great conference. They didn't have like some super, super great record. So there was no way they were going to make the NCAA tournament. But you could at least count on the NIT having your back, and you knew you were playing in still a legitimately good tournament at the end of the year. Well, this year, the NIT said, to heck with it. We don't care about these small teams. We don't care about the mid-majors. We just want some of the Big Ten and the SEC and the ACC and the Big East. And what do you know? The Indianas and the St. John's and a bunch of these teams that would have qualified for the NIT with even more openings in the NIT now that there are no auto bids said, yeah, we don't want to play. So now the NIT is sitting there looking like an idiot because the teams that they thought they were getting, instead of the High Points of the world, instead of the, the Eastern Kentuckys of the world, they are getting teams that are like 500 or worse. Like Georgia is in the NIT. No offense, Bulldogs. Right. But anyways, sorry, that was a crazy rabbit trail. I think the point of all that is I agree with you, Johnny. I'm with you on the Mountain West. I absolutely think past results of the last couple of years have played a role here. Because
Florida Atlantic as an 8, I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I had them borderline bubble team.
Yep.
That's a bad loss to Temple.
Yep.
And the Americans not that good anymore. So.
No, I'm with you. Overall, look, I'm not someone that's going to throw a fit. Like, if I'm Seton Hall, you lost, how many games did you lose? Like, I don't know the exact number. Was it 13? Is it something like that?
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of sympathy.
They went 20-12.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
They beat UConn. They beat Marquette. Like, they have good wins, but you also have to take into account, this is where it's harder to, this is where bracketology is tough, is you're like, wow, those wins. Well, how many bites at the apple did Seton Hall get, though, compared to Indiana State?
Right.
Indiana State basically got to play Drake. They only won 1 of 3. And unfortunately for schools like that, the whole season comes down to those matchups.
Yeah.
And that's brutal. It's a brutally honest truth. But I'll also say a team like Oklahoma who got left out. You know what? They didn't really beat anybody outside of beating Iowa State and BYU. And the whole Big 12 schedule is quad 1 games.
Yeah.
You're telling me you only came away with 3 total? That's not good enough.
Yep.
It's just not. Like, not when that's your whole season littered with that. The issue, and where I have, and I think a lot of people have sympathy for a school like Indiana State.
Oh, I do too. When I say that, I'm saying I don't have sympathy for the big teams.
Oh, St. John's, Seton Hall. You have all you have all the chances in the world.
Yes.
Like, listen, I had both of you in, but very thin margins. I have more of an issue of who they let in over them.
Yeah.
More than I have. Like, I don't think Virginia and Michigan State should have. They were in my next 4 out. I have big problems with those 2 being in instead. More with Virginia than Michigan State, but both in general. Indiana State, no, you're like, okay, we'll schedule tougher non-conference. Nobody will schedule them next year. Are you kidding me? Like, you think Purdue's going to schedule Indiana State next year? Heck no. No way. They won't do that. They're going to go schedule an Atlantic Sun team or a Southland team that has absolutely no chance of beating them, that they're going to be able to beat by 30 or 40 points. And they certainly would never think about going to Indiana State to play that game either. No way. One team I do just, this is an aside, and this whole podcast has been an aside so far, I feel like. I do want to give some credit in that theory. Like like this sucks for a school like Indiana State, and Drake would probably be in the exact same situation if they had lost that conference title game. Because honestly, that would help November and December college basketball too. If you had almost what college football has with some home and homes, like if you would go play Indiana State, if you were even just like Syracuse, go play Indiana State and they'll go to Syracuse the next year, like do some home and homes. Auburn went to App State this year. Yeah. They went to Boone and they lost. And most will see that as, that's why we shouldn't do that. And I get it in a selfish sense. That's absolutely correct. But for the good of the sport, it's absolutely what should happen. Yeah. And I give Auburn a ton of credit for accepting that game. And that game was a large reason why I had App State hanging around the outskirts of the bubble for a long time, because that's one heck of a win, especially the way Auburn finished the season. And talk about, again, for conference tournaments not mattering, Auburn as a 4 seed was a joke to me. They're easily a 2 seed in my book, but we won't go there.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's actually dive into what we have picked in our brackets. Listeners, if you want to, let us know on Twitter at Fifth Goal Sports your upsets. Also, you can join, I should have said this at the top, but you can join our tournament challenge group on ESPN. All you got to do is just search Fifth and Goal and it should pop right up. So I'll walk through what I have. I'm not going to go through every single pick, but I'll at least give you the highlights. So I will say, of the regions, the East is by far the one where I've got the most chalk. My second round is a 1, 9, 4, 5, 3, 6, 2, and 10. So what does that mean? It probably means I'm horribly wrong. But the only real huge upset there is I've got Drake beating Washington State, and that's the East region is where UConn is. I think UConn, I think it's probably going to be a common theme, not just for us, but for everybody. They are already easily the top picked champion. They're very, very good. They're arguably better than the team last year that won the national title. So no real surprises there. In my Sweet 16 in the East, I've got UConn there, obviously. I do have Auburn. We just talked about them. They've had a great year. They won the SEC tournament. I've got them facing off against UConn. I've got BYU in the Sweet 16 as a 6 seed taking down Illinois. We talked about this a little bit off air, but weird thing with BYU where they do not want to play on Sunday. So the committee basically turned them from a 5 seed to a 6 seed, allowing them to play the Thursday, Saturday games. Needless to say, BYU is better than a 6 seed. And that's a little tough for Illinois, who's coming off the Big Ten title game champions. The Big Ten champion has not fared well in the tournament the last few years. Now, that has mostly been because of Purdue, to be quite frank with you. But just throwing that out there as a thing, I've got Iowa State beating them. That means my Elite 8 in the East, UConn, Iowa State. In the West, North Carolina, Michigan State. You've got a nice little classic that they usually play in November happening in March in round 2. So that should be fun. Sets up kind of... did Michigan State play Duke last year? Is that what happened? Am I remembering that correctly?
That sounds right. I feel like they play each other every March Madness somehow, so it's hard to keep track.
I agree. So that'll be fun. I've got North Carolina winning there. I've got New Mexico, the Lobos, the Mountain West, the much maligned Mountain West. I've got the Lobos beating number 6 seed Clemson, and then getting beat
favored in Vegas.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe not so much an upset.
Well, it tells you how everybody thinks about that seed line. Sorry, I had to plug that Mountain West in there again.
Yes, absolutely. But I've got Baylor eventually knocking them out. My Elite 8 in the whatever region I just said. West is UNC Baylor. In the South is where things get a little spicy. Houston, and now maybe this is me having some recency bias because Houston just laid an egg in the Big 12 tournament. The thing with Houston that makes them so great is their defense. And that has won tournaments for teams. Virginia won a title. Virginia also lost to UMBC the year before. So it gives you the ability to beat absolutely everyone. It also can make you susceptible to losing to teams if you are such a defensive forward team. Houston's got more offense than either of those Virginia teams, bear in mind. Yeah. But They don't have the kind of offensive firepower that Nebraska ball has with their 3-point shooting. I've got Nebraska not only beating Texas A&M, but I've got them beating Houston in the round of 32.
Ooh.
Nebraska ball.
Ooh.
I'm in on Nebraska ball.
Let's go.
Then they lose to Duke, but it's a great story in the first weekend. I also like Boise State not only winning in Dayton, not only beating Florida, but then beating Marquette, the 2 seed. Tyler Kolek, Johnny, you mentioned it, injury. He's been out the last 6 games. He is a key piece. Also, point guards, just when it comes to March, that's a huge deal. You need really
He's
good
supposed to
guard
be
play,
back.
And he
as
is
of
supposed to
now.
be back. To what extent, we'll see. I've got the Boise State Broncos in my Sweet 16. That's where Kentucky cleans them up. Kentucky, the 3 seed, the Duke, the 4 seed in the Elite 8. The Midwest is also fairly chalk, although I do have McNeese upsetting Gonzaga. I've got Kansas beating Purdue in the Sweet 16. I think I've learned my lesson with Purdue. Of course, now everyone's going to be doing that, and now this will finally be the year they do something. Maybe not. But my Sweet 16 in the Midwest is 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got Purdue, Tennessee, Creighton, Kansas, and I've got Creighton and Kansas in my Elite 8 in that region. And I'll save my final 4 for our picks of the week. Josh, what do you got?
Thank you for going to me next, because it was going to be 2 smart guys and then a guy who just kind of has things.
Which
Here's
means
how
you'll have the best
I-
bracket, Josh.
Welcome to the bracket.
I'm
that's going
not
to win.
judging.
Welcome to. I'm going to pull it up. Here's my process. I scan the teams. I scan what the NCAA says in the little app, or sorry, what ESPN says in the little app.
Mhm.
And then I go, screw that. What are my pre-existing biases, and who do I always pick? I have certain teams I always pick, and I have certain teams I always pick against, which means sometimes. And then in the mixture of this, I have Aaron and Johnny, who's very good advice of make sure you don't always have chalk, especially going into Elite 8. There's always at least one lower seed in, Elite 8, all that stuff, all the good stuff, just, just picking something statistically, which means I have things like, in the East, I have Duquesne beating BYU. That's my 11-6 update. Why?
Duquesne.
I want that. I want to see so many people butcher that name.
Yes.
So we're going for it. My Cinderella team is also coming out of the East, and that is Drake. I have Drake going all the way to the Elite 8.
Let's go.
Yes.
Drake
Bulldogs.
Let's
Let's
go.
Drake
go.
is taking everything.
I love it.
Drake is taking everything.
Josh, can I just say who that all includes them beating really quick?
Yes. Oh, yes,
You
it
said
does.
The Elite 8. So that means they beat the 7 seed Washington State. They beat the 2 seed Iowa State.
Iowa State, they do.
And they beat the potentially 3 seed Illinois.
Yeah,
Like
that
if they
hurts.
face all the highest seeds.
That hurt to pick. I did not. It hurt to pick them against Illinois, but I'm like, I'm going off of vibes.
I love it.
And then they finally lose to Auburn in the Elite 8.
Hey, they treated you well in Arch Madness. Why not?
Spoiler alert, that was one of my final 4. But I did pick chalk, my one chalk pick, and this is a dangerous chalk pick, but actually less so. We've said usually pick some 5-12s, just how it's worked. You get some 5-12 upsets. That has happened decreasingly in the past few years. And so you have to kind of split the difference now. I think I picked 2 chalk and 2 upsets. And the one chalk I did pick was St. Mary's over whoever St. Mary's is supposed to play, because it's lost. I lost it. It's gone somewhere. Oh, well.
Yep.
They're
dead.
They're
Grand
dead.
Canyon.
It's fine.
They're playing.
Grand Canyon. Really wanted to pick Grand Canyon, but can't. Not this time.
Josh, the Antelopes.
Short.
I wanted to. That's okay, because I have other 12-5 upsets I'm picking. I have Charleston over Alabama, not for any reason that I want to pick an upset. It's just I don't pick for Alabama as a rule. That has and will come to bite me in the butt, but I take my pride with that. I don't pick them. I have Baylor over Colgate. For some reason, I never pick toothpaste. And then I always pick.
They always get so close and never do anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In first rounds, I always pick Ohio teams. And I pick Ohio teams as long as I can justify it. So I got Dayton over Nevada.
Nice.
I have Akron. This is the one. This is the one that hurts. I have Akron with the upset over Creighton. That
Ooh.
worries me.
No.
That's it's
Ooh.
because of my
Blue
rule.
Jays.
That
No.
listen, that also hurt. That also hurt. Also because Creighton is one of the stronger teams overall in the tournament this year. Top 21 defense, top 21 offense, top 37 defense. Like it is, that hurts. But I pick Ohio first rounds. That's my rule. Everything from Ohio I pick. Marquette over Western Kentucky, nothing crazy. My secondary Cinderella team, I have James Madison.
Ooh.
Yes,
Going to the
Josh.
Sweet 16.
Oh.
Yes.
Nice.
Taking on, I picked Vermont over Duke as well because I don't like Duke.
Yes.
Again, that's
Love
not going to go well for me. It's not going to go well for me, but I'm going off of my hatred. Let's see here. We'll go to my Sweet 16. I have Auburn going pretty far. I have Auburn taking UConn to get into the Elite Eight.
Wow.
I do like Auburn. Let's see here. I have Baylor over Arizona. That one was still figuring out why. And then I have Houston over James Madison. That'll be a fun one. And then, so that has my Elite Eight as Auburn against Drake, which, man, I hope so bad. There has been only, I think, 2 previous 4-10 matchups.
Wow.
Yes. 1990, both times 4 has beaten the 10. 1990, Arkansas over Texas. And then 1997, Arizona over Providence in overtime.
Josh picking only vibes,
Man.
then casually pulls out all the stats.
Seriously,
on
that's insane.
4 versus 10 seed.
Hey,
Only vibes, though, everyone. Only vibes.
thank you, ESPN app, for giving me that. As it was like, it's like, hey, by the way, this hasn't happened in like 3 decades. What are you doing?
That's so
Stop it.
good.
I have North Carolina and Baylor. I have Houston and Marquette, and then I have Purdue, Tennessee.
Nice.
So we'll see.
I
We'll
love
see. Purdue is going to be the spoiler of my bracket maker, is my fear.
Josh, yours is way more fun than mine. I respect you so much for that.
I have a good time with my brackets.
Yeah.
And my bracket usually gets me, you know what? My bracket usually gets me top third.
Yeah.
That's usually
very
what's happening.
respectable.
So I'll take top third. I'm not winning. I'm not going on. Listen, I have too much knowledge in my head. That's the thing, is like I'm picking based off some statistics and some like, this is what happens. Like, I honestly need more vibes, because my fear is actually too much chalk, but it's too much chalk in the wrong places. What I've done is I've probably picked one region completely wrong, but the same numbers in just a different bracket.
Yeah.
So that's my one fear. Guys, use your brain less. Please do.
Guys, it's so hard when you're picking the brackets, because you're like, I want to pick these upsets, but once you get to the final 4, it is mostly 1s and 2s, and then maybe like a 5 seeds thrown in there, right?
Exactly.
So that's like you're trying to pick 1s and 2s, and then, all right, which region is the one like chaotic region? And I think all of us, pretty much anyone you talk to, is probably going to tell you it's the Midwest this year. So I'll go over mine real quick here too. So obviously UConn, really tough. I thought the committee did them no favors. Not in the sense that there's a lot of upset potential. I agree. There's a lot of chalk probably in the East, but you gave them Illinois, who just won the Big Ten tournament. You gave them Auburn as a 4 seed who just won the SEC tournament. Like, you gave them Iowa State, who just won the Big 12 tournament. I know they can't play Illinois and Iowa State, so they're only going to play one of them. So I understand. But I really, really liked Auburn coming into this. I don't think they have any trouble with Yale. I don't think they have any trouble with San Diego State or UAB. I think they're definitely playing UConn in that Sweet 16. I think that would be my number 1 Sweet 16 matchup if I could put my money, double down on it. Those two will be playing each other, which means now they won't. They'll both lose. But I really want to pick Auburn in that. And this is where I want to pick Auburn really, really badly. But I also know if I screw that up, my bracket's done immediately, because UConn could go win the whole thing. So this is why you have, when you look at analysts pick it, they're like, oh, this is so boring. You pick 3 1 seeds and a 4. It's because they're basically hedging their bets that they're just not going to look foolish at the end. Because most likely 2 of those 1 seeds do make the Final Four. Anyway, so that's kind of my East there real quick. That means I do have that Drake upset over Washington State. That's probably a very popular one, so it might not happen. That's my only upset in that round. I do have Illinois actually going all the way to that Elite 8. Again, we'll share Final Four picks later on. In the West, actually, one thing I forgot to mention beforehand, the last 3 years, a 15 seed has not only beaten a 2, it has made the Sweet 16 the last 3 years in a row. I did not pick that. I don't have the guts to. I can't find that matchup, and I watch these mid-majors. I will continue to hunt and search, and maybe I'll change a pick there. Just FYI. Anyway, I really loved what Mississippi State did in that SEC tournament. They are actually more consistent than Michigan State, so I actually have the Bulldogs winning that game. I do have Grand Canyon beating St. Mary's. St. Mary's is very injured right now. They had a fantastic year. They beat Gonzaga twice, won the West Coast Conference tournament, but injury concerns, and it's not a far trip for either team. I believe that game's in Salt Lake. I do have New Mexico over Clemson as well. I have Nevada over Dayton. I think Dayton's severely overseeded as 7. I do think they deserve to be in. I think these seed lines could easily be flipped. Luckily, there's no huge harm done if that would have been the case, because there's not really a home court advantage for a 7 seed. I also have Nebraska over A&M, but that actually might be my favorite 8-9 matchup. A&M can score with the best of them. This is a point guard dream matchup. So whoever Houston has to play between these two teams is extremely dangerous. Houston got no favors with that second round matchup. I do have Nebraska in that. I have James Madison beating Wisconsin as well. I really wanted to pick my Catamounts over Duke. Want them to get over the hump and finally win a conference game, but NCAA tournament game, but I think Duke's going to be locked in after that embarrassing loss to NC State in the tournament. I do have NC State beating Texas Tech. I think they pull off one more upset. I think they get one more. I also have currently, I'll get some time to see who actually wins the Boise State-Colorado game.
Yeah, true.
But Florida's center broke his leg in the SEC title game, unfortunately. Florida already really struggles on the defensive end. I was really upset because Florida was actually one of my most dangerous teams coming into the tournament before that injury happened, just because of how they can score. Florida's one of those teams that could lose to anybody. They could beat anybody, but if losing your big man really hurts there. So I expect the underseeded Boise State or Colorado to win that. I apologize. In the South, I do have Duke beating James Madison, though, in that game. Houston does get by Nebraska, although wouldn't be surprised again if that's very close game. But one thing in the tournament, typically, I know we've talked about Virginia plenty. We're talking about a team that likes to go really, really fast and a team that likes to go really, really slow. The slow team usually wins. When you're finding like a team that's just kind of somewhere in the middle, it doesn't matter as much. Nebraska likes to go really, really fast, and Houston will really slow that game down. So I actually think Houston pulls that out. Kentucky over NC State, Kentucky and Marquette, Duke, Houston, lots of chalk there, right? Purdue should beat that first round matchup.
It'll be real sad next week.
Montana State.
Montana State and Grambling, man. We're whoever wins that game. I do expect them to win that. TCU and Utah State are a hard matchup there. I've gone back and forth. It's an 8-9. I have TCU. This is where the fun really comes into my bracket. I have McNeese beating Gonzaga. That shout out like Will Wade. That dude can flat out coach, no matter what you think of him personally. First year at McNeese, an immediate turnaround. Like that team's ridiculous. Like 30-3, absurd. Samford beats Kansas too.
Ooh.
Kansas Hunter Dickinson's not healthy. That team is walking wounded. They are really hurt. They're out immediately. 12-13 matchup in the second round there. Oregon also takes out South Carolina. Oregon is finally healthy. They've been hurt all year. Altman has so much tournament experience. I expect Oregon to be really ready for that game. Creighton wins, Texas wins, Tennessee wins. So obviously the Midwest is just absolute chaos at that point. I have McNeese going to the Sweet 16 then to face Purdue.
Ooh, that's fun.
Creighton and Oregon. I almost picked Oregon here. I might regret not picking Oregon over Creighton just because of that experience I mentioned. But I do have Creighton and Purdue. I actually think Purdue has the most manageable region in the entire bracket. That doesn't mean that it's easy because there are no easy regions. And that doesn't mean that they're going to make it. And even if they lose early, that doesn't mean this still isn't true. They have the most manageable region as far as the matchups that they could have getting to the Elite Eight. Once you get to the Elite Eight, it's always going to be a really, really great team. So they beat McNeese, and I would pick Creighton over Tennessee right now if they're facing each other. And that is my Elite Eights before we get to the Final Four.
All right, let's do it. All right, before we get to our Final Four, because it is Picks of the Week, we have to go back to our scoreboard. We are over halfway through season 1, a foot-long cookie on the line. Now, last week, Josh, your Drake pick won the Missouri Valley Arch Madness. You got a point. We were waiting for the teams that Johnny and I picked, and somehow the three of us went 3 for 3 because I picked said toothpaste. I picked the Colgate Raiders to win the Patriot League. They did. Johnny picked the Vermont Catamounts out of the America East. They won, like they usually do. So we went 3 for 3 on those picks, which means our current scoreboard is myself with 8 points. Nope, that's not right. Johnny is in first with 8 points. I wish. I've got 7 points. Josh has 3. So that's where we're at right now. We've got baseball that we picked last week. That's happening Wednesday, Thursday. So that's what will be adding points to this scoreboard next week. And now for our Final Four predictions. So this is a big deal, right? Like we've been going kind of a point at a time, but we could potentially score up to 4 points. Now, if any of us gets all 4 Final Four teams correct, let's hope that one of our brackets is in a money pool where we're winning more than a foot-long cookie.
Right, yeah, yes.
So good luck, everyone. My Final Four. Out of the East, it's not a surprise. It's maybe too much chalk. It's the UConn Huskies. I've got them beating Iowa State. It's a really good Iowa State team, but I just think UConn is just too well suited and still very hungry to get to the Final Four. I've got them. In the West, I've got the North Carolina Tar Heels. Now, depending on what metrics you want to dive down, there's people that study the last 20 champions and they say a team that wins 95% of the time has to meet this metric on offense and this metric on defense and blah, 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 blah. And North Carolina is not in a lot of those metrics, but they're like just right there. Like for offensive efficiency, they're like just slightly below that kind of 95% line. Same thing with defense. They're just like just there. And I'm not saying that no one's picking North Carolina. I think right now the third pick of a champion is North Carolina. Needless to say, I have them in my Final Four, which means that the UConn-North Carolina championship, not championship, sorry, the UConn-North Carolina Final Four is the championship. Why are you guys shaking your head?
It's fine. We're on the same. Yeah, you're good.
Are we're all doing the same thing? Great.
I think we're all doing the same thing.
Perfect.
Which means we're screwed.
Yes, we are. Okay.
Congratulations, James Madison.
Well, here's probably maybe where I'm going different than you guys. Maybe in the South, I had the 4-seeded Duke versus 3-seed Kentucky. Gross. If you hate both those teams, I actually don't really care. I've got Kentucky winning. Josh, do you have? Oh, Josh has the same thing probably. I've got Kentucky winning. I've got them in the Final Four. Rob Dillingham's going to go on this crazy Kemba run.
Yes,
all the way to the Final Four. Yeah, I know he's your guy.
Let's go.
And finally, my last pick in the Final Four is the Creighton Blue Jays, who beat Josh's Akron Zips. They make it all the way. They beat Purdue in the Elite Eight, and they make it to the Final Four, which means that I've got 2 1 seeds playing one another, UConn, North Carolina. I've got 2 3 seeds, Kentucky, Creighton. I've got Kentucky beating Creighton, sadly, and I've got North Carolina beating UConn. And again, I think that UConn North Carolina game is going to be kind of the championship here. And then North Carolina takes care of business, wins the whole thing. And Johnny, your reaction makes me think that we have the exact
Should I just
same
share mine?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Get it over with.
Much like Aaron, I have UConn beating Illinois that time. As much as like guards, defense and guards win the NCAA tournament. You have to have excellent guards. UConn has both. I actually question at times Illinois' ball handling and their ability to stop anyone. I have North Carolina over Arizona. I have Marquette taking out Houston. So that is my pick out of the South. Again, this is a lot riding on a bill of health for Marquette. But again, as I mentioned, point guards. So that's the basis of my picks. And then I also had a Purdue-Creighton Midwest matchup. I want to pick Creighton desperately. Unfortunately, I think within the matchup there, Creighton, obviously Aaron disagrees with me, which is fine. I hope I'm wrong. I actually think matchup-wise, Purdue fits Creighton very well. I think that's actually a far more comfortable matchup than would be a Auburn if they had to face them, or a Kentucky, actually. Like Kentucky, who can just score like crazy from all places on the court. Yep. Zach Edey wouldn't have anyone to guard if he's facing Kentucky. That's a nightmare matchup for a team like Purdue. Anyway, I do have Purdue winning, sadly, which means my Final Four is really, really boring, guys. I apologize. I hate myself for it. I hope I'm wrong. I have UConn and North Carolina 1 seeds, Purdue 1 seed, Marquette a 2. Yes, I'm the worst. I do also have North Carolina beating UConn. And part of this is, one, I like being contrary. If you've listened to the podcast at all, you know that's true. And everybody's picking UConn. Part of it also is we haven't had a back-to-back champion since those Florida teams.
Yeah, that's true.
In 06-07, Aaron?
I think so.
05-06. Yeah. 06-07. And they had 4 NBA players on that team that all decided to come back the next year. While many of these players on UConn were on that team, and they've all just ascended into bigger roles. And obviously, Hurley is a fantastic coach. She's resurrected that program far quicker than I think anyone pictured. I just have a hard time imagining a program winning 2 in a row. And that's why I'm picking North Carolina, Hubert Davis. They win that game. I have Marquette actually knocking off Purdue. So I have a North Carolina Marquette final in mine, and I have North Carolina coming out that side. I'd probably be cheering for Marquette, honestly, in that situation. Just smaller school.
Oh yeah,
you know, like that would be fun. But I mean, I'd be cheering for Creighton in the other situation as well. So I have Marquette, UNC, so a little different there, and then I have North Carolina ultimately, cutting down the nets in mine. It's subject to change as far as what bracket I put in the pool, but it's official for the podcast.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Yep. Josh hit us.
Man. Johnny and I were shaking our heads because we were typing in the exact same West, South, and Midwest teams.
Oh no.
He starts typing and I see him spell Purdue and I'm like, oh no. The only difference I have apart from Johnny is I have Auburn instead, as I spoiled 30 minutes ago at this point.
Yep.
I have Auburn over UNC because again, it's fun. It's to have fun with this bracket. It's not a grade. And then I have Purdue over Marquette. And then Purdue ultimately winning it, which means I cannot wait to see the largest loss deficits in the round of 64 history.
Josh, you're picking Purdue to win the whole thing.
I like it.
Okay, good for you. So all of our Final Fours are quite similar, but none of them are exact. Yeah. So the only region we agree on is North Carolina out of the West.
Mhm.
And I don't think there's a lot of people picking somebody else out of the West, if I'm completely being honest. So that probably means North Carolina's losing.
Yeah,
to Michigan
congratulations.
State, who I
Yeah,
said shouldn't
congratulations.
even be
Like,
in
I
the
don't know, St.
tournament.
Mary's or congratulations, Michigan State.
Please be St. Mary's instead.
The
That's way more
Wagner
fun than Michigan State.
Seahawks. Congratulations.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Grand Canyon in the Final Four would be a blast.
Oh, man.
Come on.
That'll be so fun.
How old are their students?
New
travel?
Mexico?
Probably pretty well, right? Like that environment
I
could
would
be
think
nuts.
so.
Could be nuts.
New Mexico taking vengeance on the committee and just going all the way to the Final Four to show them. I'm down for that.
Yeah, me too. Me too. All right. Well, let us know if you have something wild and crazy in your Final Four. As I said, hit us up on Twitter at Fifth Goal Sports. Tell the world, tell us. We're not even gonna, I was going to say we'd make fun of you. I'm not going to make fun of you. I gave the whole disclaimer at the beginning. You have just as good of a chance, unless you're saying like all 16 seeds. Do whatever you want. Best of luck to you.
Yep.
All right, I can start with picks of the week, or not picks of the week, with what we're following if you guys want, since I've got the potato bracket pulled up.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
So I think I got to pull up my own bracket too.
Okay.
Is that collectively just what we're following? Because I'm okay with that.
Well, we can do themes because I have a different food-based bracket.
Incredible.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'll start and then we'll just
No.
All right.
So, Johnny, you have 5 minutes to find a completely unrelated
bracket,
but we will not tell you what our brackets are yet. Well, you know what Aaron's is.
Yeah. All right. In the spirit of brackets, yes, we're talking basketball. We're talking net rankings. We're talking Ken Palm. We're talking all this stuff. Guys, potatoes are the most versatile food of any food. And as
boil
such,
them,
there's so
mash them,
yes,
stick them in a stew.
Yes. And because of that, there are so many different kinds of potatoes that you can also put potatoes in a 16-team region and pick your Final Four. And that's exactly what I have in front of me. Actually, this is courtesy of ESPN. ESPN did a fun thing and put this out for the world. So here's what we've got. Now, these are not seeded, but I will say the item in the top left and top right, and you guys can see this bracket, listeners, I'm about to tell this to you. I think those are probably the 1 seeds, but we have hash browns versus boiled potatoes. And now we'll collectively as a podcast go through this and make some picks here. Hash browns versus boiled potatoes. Hash browns, right? Are we
not even a
boiled
is the first step to make a better potato. Like you do
you boil it and
no
you
issue.
do
Everything else to it.
Right.
Yeah.
1 versus 16 seed. It's a 40-point splattering. Now this is where it gets interesting. The next matchup is Duchess potatoes, which I'll be honest, I've never seen in my life until this. I don't know what that is.
Versus
a Southern thing,
maybe. Versus
I always
waffle.
just assume.
There is a picture of a potato that has been waffleified with, instead of whipped cream on it, it has sour cream on it. And
that's my 12-5. Yeah.
Yeah. Is the waffle the 12? Because if so, I'm picking that upset.
Yeah. I'm picking that upset.
Yeah, pick the
waffle.
I couldn't believe that was on here.
Yeah.
My roommate has a waffle iron. I'm tempted to make mashed potatoes and throw them in a waffle iron.
Oh,
it's also a Texas shaped. It's also a Texas shaped waffle iron, so I think it's even better.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Amazing. All right. That takes us to roasted versus shoestring. Now, it's not like shoestring fries. It's like shoestring potatoes themselves.
Oh, so I read that wrong. That changes.
Yes.
That changes it.
Agreed.
Roasted.
Yes.
Yeah.
Roasted.
I think so
roasted.
too. Now,
I thought it was shoestring fries, like Steak and Shake.
Yeah.
That's
not the way the picture is making this look. Now,
no, you're right. I zoomed in.
Josh, can you help me? Do you know what the bottom left? I have no idea how to pronounce this. I can give it a shot, but you are the more culinary expert of the three of us.
I think it's Gratin Dauphinois. Okay. Like that's the best I got.
And I
only know that because when it's French, you just don't say the last consonant.
Right.
That's my only rule for French, and it works out 95% of the time.
Thank you for describing that. I couldn't begin to describe what the dish is. It doesn't matter. They're going up against mashed potatoes. Mashed potatoes moves on.
It doesn't matter.
Executive decision mashed potatoes that everyone agrees with. Top right. This is a tough one, in my opinion. Tater tots versus skins. Now, I do
Give me
think
the
tater tots.
tots.
Yeah, I think the tots win.
I'll
But
take
that's a
tots
tough
only
16
because
seed. Like they took this.
I feel like
The Skins took the tater tots. It was a 4-point game in the under 4 timeout. Like everyone was turning their channel to see this, and tots pulled it out and kind of ruined it for everybody. But
yeah, tots are hard to mess up. I feel like I've had bad potato skins.
sure,
I've not had a bad tater tot.
They're better when they're crispiest. Though.
They're better when
Yes.
they're crispiest. You're absolutely right. But I've had bad tater tots that have not ruined my nights like a bad potato skin.
fair. Potato wedges, or I assume it's pronounced croquettes.
Potatoes are from Peru, man. Why is everything French?
I don't know how to pronounce this either. I just think wedges are better, anyways.
Oh, it's just
wedges.
mashed potatoes, seasoned with parsley, bound together.
In a
Hold
bowl.
on, guys. Hold on,
Are they
guys.
deep fried again, though?
Yes, they are.
Oh.
Mashed potatoes seasoned with parsley, bound together with flour and egg, rolled in breadcrumbs, and then fried.
Oh.
Guys, that's a potato nugget.
Yep.
And I'm taking a potato nugget.
I am too.
We've never even had it before, though.
I
It doesn't
am
matter.
Pick it over.
going to. Doesn't
I'm
matter.
taking
This
it
is
too.
the upset. This is the Cinderella one.
We have to have an upset. Yep. That's the other 12.
This is our Grand Canyon. This
Oh
is the
my
potato
gosh.
Grand Canyon.
All right. I'm assuming that baked potatoes are a high seed, but I'm telling waffle fries. I don't even like.
Waffle fries win.
That's a mismatch if I've ever heard
if
one.
it's Chick-fil-A waffle fries,
Oh my
which I
gosh.
assume they are
Yeah.
from the picture, even
Yeah.
waffle fries.
Yeah.
Waffle.
All right.
All day.
Then we just have regular potato chips versus sweet potatoes, which feels like
Chips.
that's not really. I mean, I like sweet potatoes,
No,
but
I love sweet potatoes, but no, a homemade chip, and it looks like they're homemade chips.
Yeah.
Oh my
Mhm.
gosh.
yeah,
I
That'll
feel
go
like
the
we're
distance.
supposed to pick the sweet potatoes, so
chips.
definitely not.
All right, cool.
Chips.
All right, round 2. Hash browns versus waffle. Things got very challenging very quickly.
Oh.
No, I will. It's
This
just the
is-
novelty of the waffle, I think, because I've never
I think the
had
novelty-
one. It might
yeah.
taste kind of meh. You know what I mean? I
might
also
on-
love
yeah.
hash browns.
I know
Novelties
hash
only
browns.
win first round games.
Novelties don't have staying
Right.
power.
I-
I'm taking hash browns.
Hash browns. All right. Then we've got roasted versus mashed.
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 Mm.
Yep. Then we've
Yep.
got tater tots versus
Oh wait, tater tots versus tater tots.
yes. Basically, tater
Kind
tots
of,
versus
yeah.
the potato nugget. I'm going tater tots.
I don't know.
This is it's a tater
I actually
tot or it's
think
a
the
deep-fried
potato
mashed
nugget
potato ball?
is the potato nugget not almost a better version of the tater tot based on how it was
I'm
described?
you but better. Yeah.
I think it's literally a better version of the tater tot.
This is
I'm going with the
I'm
French
taking
croquets.
I'm going with the croquets.
All
yeah,
right.
give me the
Croquets.
croquets.
I don't know if that's pronounced right, but it's also pronounced Duquesne. All right. Where are we? I lost my train of thought. All right. Waffle fries versus chips. This is tough. I like waffle fries. That'd be my vote.
I'll take waffle as well.
All right.
That
And
would
this
have
is really
changed.
like
That has changed in my life.
Yeah.
But waffle.
all right. In the final 4, hash browns versus mashed potatoes.
I'm mashed potatoes here. That might be the unpopular pick, but I would also say hash browns, it kind of depends to me like what kind of hash browns we talking about.
Hash browns.
Like, are we-
Right.
Because my preferred hash brown is actually more like a McDonald's hash brown. That's
Yes,
basically a
agreed.
tater tot,
Yes.
not the like stringy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
though?
I
It's
do.
basically a tater tot.
Yes.
Not the stringy hash browns that you buy usually at like you get at like a sit down diner,
Mhm.
you know, when you order breakfast. I want the McDonald's hash brown.
Yeah.
And
Which I think-
unfortunately, the picture here is
Yeah.
not the McDonald's hash brown.
Correct.
So I'm going with mashed.
All right.
I
That's a
I
very
have
good
to do
argument.
mashed.
I'll go
Yeah.
mashed as well. Which takes us to tater tots versus waffle fries. I'm going tater tots personally.
I thought we voted for croquets.
Oh, sorry.
did
Whatever.
vote for
Croquet.
croquets.
Dang it. You're right. Thank you. Bad committee over here. All right. Croquets versus waffle fries. I just have my struggle here is I've never actually had, like, it sounds incredible, but I've never had them.
I know. Mhm.
Or the croquettes.
It's okay, Aaron.
I think they're
That
pronounced
was
croquettes.
That was the equivalent of Duquesne beating VCU in the Atlantic 10 title game and the committee being too lazy to rework the bracket and just let's slide you in at the 11 seed too. I'm going with waffle fries too, kind of for what you said. Like I have a hard time putting it something I've never eaten in the final. I'd love to try one. If anyone's tried a croquet, please inform us of how they taste and send us a recipe.
Or just send them those. Just don't make us make it. You do.
Waffle. Right. I pick waffle fries.
All right, waffle fries versus mashed potatoes in the championship of potatoes. Of those options, I'm a waffle fry guy. But it's close.
Man,
it's very close.
This is hard.
If it was my mom's mashed potatoes, I'd pick mashed potatoes. But these are not my mom's mashed potatoes.
No.
So I will also pick waffle fries.
Waffle.
I think
waffle. It's hard. It's a double overtime.
Yeah.
Buzzer beater.
Villanova UNC.
Yep.
Oh. You know, I never did watch that game.
Oh my goodness!
I had to overnight. A book report because I thought it was due a week earlier, later than it actually was. And so you guys were all watching, and I heard the yells from the room because
Josh, I flipped the table over at B Dubs on accident.
Yeah, and I heard all about it the next
on
day
accident
because I had to write a paper.
Actually, not for the buzzer beater. When Marcus Page hit that, like double clutch. Hanging in the air 3 to tie it. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. I think if you've been watching college basketball, that's what I lost it. I didn't mean to flip the table, just lost it. It's crazy. Yeah. Such a good game. Anyway,
don't go to school, kids. You'll miss games.
That is true.
Yes.
All right. Well, we did the hard work of that, so you didn't have to. Potatoes.
Now it's time to do the hard work again. Welcome to Chess Heads. Aaron didn't do this, but I'll have his come in. Welcome to Starch Madness. This is a tournament that has been run by Serious Eats online for the past few years, and they highlight different starch-based dishes and throw them head to head. A few years ago was potatoes, the original starch, as we like to say. Then there were some pasta dishes 2 years ago. Last year was rice dishes. This year, sandwiches. Voting happens at SeriousEats.com/StarchMadness, or you can just go to their Instagram story. Voting starts every day at 10 a.m.
Wait, Josh, when's Fat Bear Week? Is that this week?
That's October.
Oh,
so close.
This is like the opposite. This is the opposite of Fat Bear Week. This is instead of going out of
I got really excited. I forgot when Fat Bear Week was, and then I remembered where hibernation was mid-question.
That's all right. That's why I'm so glad Fat Bear Week exists. Is because it gives us kind of like a halfway through the year. Like, good job, guys. Here's a quick little bracket for you. But here are the. We will not know what the winners will be for a few days. But I can at least give you what the 116 seed is for today. We have an egg and pate banh mi, chicken pate, garlicky aioli, a savory omelet, and fresh and pickled vegetables. Or we have a pan bagnat. I don't know. All of these sandwiches sound really fancy. I just get excited because there's an oyster po' boy that's on the next list.
Oh my God.
That's what I'm really excited for. But yes, let's see here. These seem like really highfalutin, very fancy sandwiches. I'm just going to give you a rundown of them really quick because I have more important things to talk about, and we'll keep them quick. We have an egg banh mi. We have the oyster po' boy that I'm really excited for. A classic tomato sandwich is ranked number 4 on this. Bacon, egg, and cheese. And that's genuinely, this is a weird list. I did not realize I cannot pronounce half of these. That is fun. But if you're interested in fancy sandwiches and that are not just potato dishes, you are welcome to go to Serious Eats and check out the voting there. Now, very quickly, guys, Steelers did something.
Yeah.
They did something very fun.
Yes, they did.
They
committed highway robbery is what they did.
Highway robbery. You know, last week when I was a little bit frustrated and I said something like it didn't seem that the Steelers were working very aggressively. They weren't working aggressively. They were working shrewdly. They were just biding their time. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I thought I had saved the tweet. I did not. I just saved. Looks like the hoagie room is still saved on my tweets.
Yes. Excellent.
And Heinz's new ketchup cap. I'll tell you about that next week.
I'm intrigued.
$1.2 million in engineering. I'll talk about it next week.
Wow.
Can't wait.
But basically, they got rid of Kenny Pickett, which I did not realize was on the table. Traded him to some Eagles for a few picks, which was not bad, and then they got Justin Fields from the Bears for like a 4th round pick next year, which is insane. Between Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, we have 2 quarterbacks that we spent a total of $4.4 million this year on, which is nothing. Now, do we have an O-line? No. Draft, please. Draft well, please. But we need a center, we need a linebacker, we need a few things. But this is insane. I was hoping for a great 10-7 season. Let's smelt. We're going all the way. It's time.
I mean, it's crazy that the Bears gave him away, and I know they didn't want to pay him, but now they're asking Caleb Williams to come in, and the Bears have actually constructed a good roster, just trying to figure out the quarterback. But
especially for a number 1 overall pick
certainly,
team.
Way better. I mean, imagine Justin Fields getting drafted this year to Chicago. Like, how different would his career look? And it has not gone well. If I'm putting a percentage of the blame, I'm saying probably 75% Chicago, 25% him.
Yeah.
But RG3 came out today and said, hey, if I'm Caleb Williams and I've seen how they've treated the last quarterback they had, I'd think twice about coming here. And I get where he's coming from, and I don't think he's entirely wrong. But I will say this roster is ready to win now. Yeah. So just fascinating.
Yeah. No clue what's going to happen, but it's all good
And
stuff.
they said afterwards that they had a few offers on the table and they wanted to do right by Justin and kind of let him pick where he wanted to go.
Yep.
But believe me, the Steelers offering a 6th for next year's draft, if there was a team on the board offering a 2nd, they would not have done right by Justin. They would have taken a 2nd round pick from another team.
Yes.
So I think that's also important to remember. We're like, oh, that's so nice of the team. And it is in a sense, but let's not kid ourselves. There probably wasn't anything better than a 4th round pick on the board then. And at that point, they've had such bad press with Justin. They probably didn't mind getting a little good press.
Final announcement, and this is truly an announcement. A few days ago, 4 days ago, as of this recording, the Pittsburgh Penguins announced that the shipments carrying the Jagger bobbleheads for the game was stolen. If you stole those bobbleheads, please return them. That is really rude. That is all.
Also, how are you going to be able to resell those?
How are you reselling these? Hey, I have 140, or not 140. I have 40,000 bobbleheads.
It's crazy.
That's a crazy Etsy listing.
What? Oh my gosh. Well, I'm following really quick. First off, go away, Greg Sankey, commissioner of the SEC. We do not need an expanded NCAA tournament. He doubled down on it after he got completely, basically booed off of the internet for suggesting that we needed to expand the tournament because there were too many major conference teams that were quality getting left out. Aaron, what you said earlier, Seton Hall, St. John's, listen, right. I had you in, but you got your chance. My issue is always with, did the team have access to the tournament? You cannot argue St. John's and Seton Hall didn't have access to the tournament. You could argue it a little bit for Indiana State, But let's be honest with ourselves. An expanded tournament is not going to mean a lot more of Indiana State's. It's going to mean a lot more of mediocre, sub 500 power conference teams. Nobody asked for that. Nobody needs it. And guess what? Not everything needs adjusted or changed. March Madness is beautiful and perfect as is. Please do not touch it. If you wanted to change anything, don't put Grambling State and Montana State in the first four. They won their conference tournaments. I'd be okay if you just put them directly into the round of 64 and had the next four teams who just barely made the field playing in Dayton, not 16 seeds that won their conference tournament. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. Lastly, again, backing up Aaron's, just public service announcement to everybody who watches college basketball out there. One of my favorite things this type of year is everybody's wacky brackets. Yes. I personally always love doing a mascot matchup. I will not be completing said bracket fully until all the games on Wednesday in the first four are done, because I cannot do so. It's not possible without knowing those first four winners. Anyway, this was the best one I've seen so far that somebody's made, and I'm sure there will be ones that beat it. But a March Madness bracket, if you picked each matchup by which school's home court is closest to a Wendy's. I have some of my favorite ones in here. We have Stetson Yale as a Sweet 16 matchup. That's fantastic. Sorry, UConn. Howard makes the Sweet 16. Sweet 16. What else? What else here? We have Colorado making a run all the way to the Elite Eight, as well as McNeese. McNeese all the way to the Elite Eight. Gotta love that. They take out Purdue literally in this matchup. Gotta like that. Our Final Four includes a BYU versus Arizona and a Houston versus Oregon. In some senses, not that bad of a Final Four. You're like, that actually could be quite possible. Unfortunately, you have Oregon beating Arizona in all Pac-12 final. Part of me loves this bracket because it would be kind of nice if the Pac-12 had an all Pac-12 final in its last year. So nice. Maybe it's the romantic in me would like that. Oregon, who knew? Eugene, closest Wendy's to their home court. Oregon wins the Wendy's bracket national championship.
Amazing.
So there's no wrong way to fill out your brackets, guys. No wrong way. There's never been a perfect one before.
It's not filling it out at all.
That's exactly
right. Correct, Josh. Encourage everyone to fill out a bracket. If they're like, I don't really want to download an app, you should have a paper copy on hand to give to them, shove it in their face, make them fill it out, and if they don't want to submit it, you should, because it's probably better than yours.
Listen, ESPN lets you fill out like 25 brackets, doing all chalk, doing all upsets,
do all of them.
Distance from where you currently live. Make your own mascot battle, number of programs, national rankings, whatever you want.
National rankings distance to the Atlantic Ocean. Distance to the nearest active volcano. Like, whatever you want.
Most famous celebrity alum. Like, the world.
There's no wrong way to fill out a bracket.
And also, if you hate teams, furthest distance away from your most hated team. That's easy too.
Yep.
I fill out a hate bracket every year.
Hate bracket.
It's all the teams I hate the most winning every. And honestly, it does pretty well some years. It does pretty well. And I hate a lot. So,
Oh, man. Well, look, enjoy the games. Johnny and I are very spoiled because we live basically right next to UD Arena. So we will be attending all four of the first four games. So I know we're like an hour and 15-ish minutes into the podcast, but Austin, one of our listeners and my brother, said it a really good point. He said that on YouTube, well, let me start over. That was bad. Austin said on YouTube, because you can watch this podcast there. We stream it every week, most weeks, when we're able to. He said in one of the comments of our videos that we should tell people to follow us on Momento, which I agree with. Not a sponsor, but if you're not familiar with what Momento is, it is a fantastic, basically it's Goodreads or what's the movie one?
Letterbox.
Thank you. My brain farted. Or Letterboxd for the sporting events that you've been to. So last I looked, it's not actually on the App Store itself, but you can find a link and it'll still take you to the App Store and you can download it. But basically, you can make like your own digital tickets and track all the games that you've been to. It's really sweet. And you can track it technically as far back as you want to, because like their app has a database of games that you can pull from, but now they've added an editing feature. So like I went back like last week and added a bunch of old like Ohio State basketball games that I know I've been to, but that weren't in the database. So you can add in pretty much whatever you want and keep track of it. It breaks it down by like how many times you've seen each team play. It's fantastic. So Johnny and I are both there on Memento. If you are on this app, give us a follow. We'd love to see all the games that you guys get to go to. If you don't have the app, and you're a sports fan, I think it's awesome. It's one of the best products I've seen. Again, this is not a sponsor. This is just free advertisement for them because I think this app is great. So the reason I bring that up is because you will see Johnny and I log 4 different games in the next 2 days, which we're very excited about. So we'll hold down the fort in Dayton. If you guys need some perspective on what it's like inside the arena, follow us at Fifth Goal Sports. Otherwise,
go
enjoy
Montana
the basketball.
State.
Yep. Montana State. I'm rooting for the Wagner Seahawks as well. Love that team.
Mm-hmm.
So enjoy the basketball, guys. It is a great time of year. Good luck to you in all of your work this week. I'll just say that.
We sleep in May.
We sleep in May. We all know the amount of work that's getting done this week, and it is none. So have fun with that. Listeners, have a great rest of your week. We'll see you next time.
Do you know how hard I worked today to